Hey guys, welcome back to 5 Gaming. My name is Choco. Today I'm joined with Gilray and Nolark. Go ahead and say hey.
Yo, what's up, guys?
What's going on, everybody?
And today we're going to be talking about SafetyNet being implemented over on the GP version, and it'll be coming global at some point, I'm sure. So the community is pretty up in arms about it. Half of it is split on if it's good, if it's bad. So before we get into the community's part of it, Gail, how do you feel about SafetyNet coming to JP finally?
I think it was inevitable. Bandai have already implemented it in one of their own gachas in MHA Ultra Impact. So I think it definitely took some inspiration and saw like, okay, that game, just launched. MHA is still a popular franchise, not as much as it is in the West, in Japan, of course. But um, still they looked at it, they were like, okay, this is good, we can implement it on our game. And yeah, there we go, it's implementing finally. We've been talking about this for what, since March or Feb, I want to say. So it's been a couple of months at the very minimum. It's been like 3 or 4 months. So finally getting it. And yeah, I'm on objectively looking at it, I can see both sides of the argument, but more of a personal take as well. I find with the pros, the modding side, I can see why they're trying to get it out of there. The numerous SR Android 18s we see on the friends list and whatnot. Plus, on top of the whole thing with the, of course, early showcases and whatnot going away, I can see the pros of that. But at the same time, as a content creator who uses emulators and finds it a much more tedious process of connecting my phone to my PC to, record my screen and stuff, that's the only side that I'm kind of on, because I personally enjoy the use of emulators. Plus, on top of that, if you look at it more of an objective side, a lot of people may not have the phone or the storage, because Dokkan's not a small game anymore. It used to be like 2 to 3 gigs in like 2016, 2017. Now it's a big chunky 5 gigs, which unfortunately not a lot of people may have even to this day, and especially like other countries and stuff where it's not easy to get a good phone for a decent price. So obviously emulators are a very easy point of access for gacha games in general, because everybody has a laptop, right? So yeah, it's gonna be a shame in that regards. But obviously, data mines, whatnot, they're gonna go away most likely, which is gonna be it's gonna be very healthy for the content creator side of things, in my personal opinion. Obviously people will also not be able to see the units, which I understand. You want to see the units, you want to see whether you should summon, but at the same time that will also bring back the hype factor of the units being released. So there's a lot of sides of the argument, which I'm interested and curious to see what the community thinks about.
Okay, so for me, as a content creator, this is actually a good thing overall because, I'm one of the few guys who likes to rainbow units on the first banner. Haven't done that recently, but I haven't felt that compelled to do it. But here I would be like, well, I'd be one of the few guys who could showcase units at rainbow and stuff like that. So it's good for the content creator side of things, that's for sure. The emulator thing, I agree with Gail there, where it's a good point of access for a lot of people. But unfortunately, this is a game designed for a phone, and emulators introduce like rooting and other aspects that you can modify the APKs and really mess around with things. So I understand from a developer standpoint that they would rather, be more secure with their stuff. Which Gail also mentioned, like phones aren't necessarily cheap in some countries, but on the other side, phones are people's primary devices now, right? So why not just have the game be just on the phone as opposed to port it over to multiple things? But that's a whole other discussion for another day. Overall, I think with the data mines going away is, to me, I've been a veteran for, I don't know, 5-6 years at this point. So I remember the time when there was no data mines, when there was no showcases. You just logged into the game and bam, there was an announcement that a unit was coming. The hype factor was just unbelievable. Two specific moments I remember was, I think this was like December of 2016, or like near the end of the year, when Vegito Blue, Physical Vegito Blue, and AGL Rose, they were just aired like the day before, but then the next day in the announcements, it was announced that they were coming. I had never seen a game go that crazy bonkers on the hype. So there's that factor to consider. Like, I haven't been honestly that hyped. Like, I have been, but it wasn't like it was before. Granted, it might be nostalgia glasses on me, but back then it was a very different feeling of how to be get ready for an announcement or how to react to one. So yeah, it's a good bag both overall. I mean, I could see why people are upset, and I could see why people are happy. But yeah, that's my feeling on it.
Pretty much agree with both of you. Combination of the two. But without further ado, let's see what the community feels about it. So we've each picked out one response from our community posts over on YouTube, as well as our Twitter. So let's go ahead and react to them now.
Shout out to Normals for this comment. Truth's about to be on top again for Dokkan content now that everyone can't do 100% videos anymore. He's not wrong. There may be a handful of people who could do 100% showcases, Truth being the biggest one that we could think of off the top of our heads. But it's no longer 10,000 people with the flick of a switch could do it. It's now, hey, you got to summon, you got to go in hard, and then you got to put in the work and then showcase the unit. There's going to only be a very few people, and Truth is going to be one of those, for sure.
I think we're going to see more 55% showcases still, though. But they're not going to be before the unit releases now. That's the main thing.
Yep.
The thing that bums me out more than anything is that we aren't going to get early showcases of units anymore. It's nice to see a unit in action before summoning, but hey, Dokkan probably wants you to summon to see how good a unit is, lol. Well, I mean, yeah, that's the point of it. Like, the biggest thing when it comes to gacha games is that there needs to be an incentive to summon, and the first thing to incentivize you to summon is the hype of a character, right? And in Dokkan's pretty much, I would say, the only game where this happens realistically, right? Because in other games you have either the news drops of, oh, this is the character coming, but they don't reveal any of the skills. Maybe they do, maybe they don't, but they don't show off the unit's damage or prowess or anything of that sort. Dokkan's probably one of those only games where we're able to get in, see the unit, actually use the unit, and see how its potential is. And sometimes they don't necessarily set up to realistic standards. So in a way, this is exactly what Dokkan wants. They want to just rely on the hype of the unit. They'll obviously show off the kit on Twitter. You can make your judgment based on that or not. That's up to you. But right now, I think Dokkan wants you to go off of the hype of a unit rather than seeing what the unit does and then them being like, oh, I don't want to summon on it anymore because it may be, crap or something, right? So, yeah, it's definitely, that is the main thing. And I don't think that's a bad thing because that's what it should be. Like, in my personal opinion, somebody who plays a lot of gachas, I think Nolar is also would agree with me here. We already deal with it in other gachas. It's how it operates. That's how it should be.
Yep. Agreed. And just to make a point here, just because you can't see a showcase of a unit early, you could still see a showcase of the unit like 2 days later and then summon afterwards if you like it. The banners don't go away in 3 days. It's around for at least 2 weeks. So
yeah, I mean, even discounts don't go away in 3 days. They stick around for what, a week or something, right? So yeah, you've
got time.
Yeah, people like Truth. Like, I mean, we just spoke about Truth, right? So Truth is probably gonna rainbow them in like a day or two, probably maybe 3. So you're gonna probably see a showcase quite immediately. So I wouldn't really stress about the fact, yeah, you're gonna have to wait a couple of days, but at least now you can get hyped for a unit, right? Even if they may be trash post-release, at least you were hyped for it and you got excited for them.
As for my pick, as long as I don't ban people who modded before, I'm okay with it. Now, that probably is a concern that some people have if they've played on emulator or if they've modded before. Will SafetyNet all of a sudden ban you now? I don't think so. Dokkan has really only ever banned really once before, and that was when they had dupe stones. They've banned a couple times here and there with the World Tournament when you've modded the top, but aside from that, they're really lenient with everything. They let all of the chain injection, private server stuff go on, where people had like custom UIs for the longest time, and all they did was just put a stop to it without really banning. So I don't think they'll ban here. Dokkan is thankfully very lenient when it comes to stuff like this, so that is good. Probably because it's not a PvP game at the end of the day, so I don't really care too much about that as long as you don't touch a world tournament. But yeah, I don't think you should be too worried about all of a sudden your account's on an emulator, now you're banned. But you should transfer it off as soon as you can. Make sure you link it to Facebook, Bandai, Twitter, Gmail, whatever you need to do. So when it does get fully implemented, you won't be locked out of getting your account and lose it forever, because that would suck, having to go through their whole recovery process. I've done it before, and wow, it's really annoying trying to Google Translate and get your point across to the Japanese developers.
Yeah, I'll add one more thing as well. I also do think it's highly unlikely because of the fact that a lot of people would have used it, especially from more reliable sources. Obviously, Renzi yeah, I say reliable, but I mean still mods, right? But reliable in the sense it was from a well-known source. DBZ Space used to have, mods and everything until he stopped. Of course, I think it was what, a year and a half, 2 years ago. So it would just be them gutting quite a lot of the player base if it was the case, right?
All right, so my pick on Twitter is Zeno at DBZ Gooder. I'm going to miss it. Hydros and Carry have worked so hard to produce these things. Trident, Dokkan, and Carry Farming Bot, all tools free to use from the community, for the community. I love and respect all of you guys, which I echo those sentiments. Clearly, 5-9 Gaming Zone, Hydros, and Carry, they put a lot of work into it, and it was not paywalled or anything like that. It was free to the community to use. And some of the stuff that came out of the Dokkan was fantastic, like custom-made cards were great, UI changes, whatever you wanted. It was a good way for people to be creative and have some fun with it. But unfortunately now, with the implementation of SafetyNet, we're no longer going to have those things. So rest in peace.
Bots needed to go. I don't care about mods, but I dislike data mines and emulators going. So I'm assuming here he means he dislikes emulators going, which I completely agree with. Like I you see a lot of gachas even have collaborations with emulators, and having a PC port. We've seen Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, Bleach Brave Souls, Counterside. These games have had PC ports and PC versions of the game. So there is a PC audience for sure. So it would be maybe something Akatsuki could consider, maybe when version Z comes and the overall happens. But of course, that's up to them to decide. I do agree, though, emulators going is a bit of a sad piece of news from this whole thing. But the fact, I agree with the data mines, disliking data mines. I'm of the personal opinion that I've always preferred just not knowing what the unit does, going in blind, seeing it for myself, because I've always been of that mindset that Dokkan's a collection game, right? You're there to enjoy the units more so and see, have them in your hands, right? And sometimes seeing the data mines and, or sometimes they're unrealistic. So they're not necessarily like the best case scenario for them, or maybe they're unachievable, unachievable numbers, I suppose is the best way to put it, right? Whereas having them in your hands can seem so much more fun. Like, for example, I personally feel in Vegeta and GT the Fizz GT Goku, the GT units that just came out, right? Yeah, maybe they're not like top three units for some people, but to me, I really enjoy them. So they're like number 1 and 2 for me personally in terms of the Dokkan Fest TURs. Just because they're so much fun to use, they're so usable. There's a lot of variety with them you could do because they're in so many categories and stuff. So yeah, getting it in your hand for the first time is always nicer than seeing somebody else go, oh, they're bad because they saw some XYZ video say like, oh, it was not good or something like that, right? So yeah, I completely agree with data mines. It brings back the hype factor. It gets me excited to summon again, just based off the character alone, because that's what Dokkan is to me. Like, it's collection. I want to go for the characters I like. I don't want somebody else to tell me they're bad.
Well, I think emulators going is a big shame. The private servers and mods and bots, etc., is very healthy for the game in the long run. And for content creators like Garage Truth, it's a huge W since they'll be one of the few who can actually get a link level 10, 100% units. Yes, so it's weird to say it's like unfair that someone like Truth or Garage would spend however much money and somebody would just flip a switch and get it as well. But you gotta think it is a gacha game. So while you might think it's foolish for someone to spend $2,000 getting a brand new unit to Rainbow, compared to someone who just doesn't have to do that, that's the intended purpose of the game, is being a gacha game. It's why it was developed, to make money. So it might sound weird to say it's unfair to Truth and Gresh, the people who are spending the money, but I do feel it is, because that's what you agree to when you start playing the game. They don't say, here, play the game, but if you really want to, have every paid unit in the game just for free. So it is good for content creation on YouTube in general as well. I think it will let people with personality shine more than just everybody with a random private server that just gets you videos up faster, as opposed to interesting and unique personality driven channels. So I think that'll be interesting. I'm curious to see what YouTube is going to look like for Dokkan in the next few months. Yeah, any final thoughts from you two on this whole thing?
One thing I want to say as well is, this is something that I just thought of because I completely forgot MHA UI does this, and that is VPNs. There is a possibility that they may request you to use VPNs. So you might want to be ready for that as well, because it is very likely that SafetyNet could track your region potentially and, you know, say nope, you're not in the right region, and just block you off from playing the game, like kind of like amateur UI does. So there is a high possibility that if you're playing the JP version, you may need a VPN to play it. But I wouldn't be surprised if it's not the case, honestly. Like, this is just a forewarning, like, be ready if that does happen.
Yeah, just to you know, hammer that point home, it is the JP version of the game, so like, you know, you should be in Japan to play it. Like, it makes sense. It seems like hoops and stuff for us to go through, but honestly, if this is how they want to secure their game and make improvements and make sure that things go forward, I have nothing but respect for them. So whatever happens, you know, be sure to check us out. We'll tell you if you need a VPN, what kind of VPNs, all that stuff. Just be sure to check us out here on 59 Gaming. We'll definitely go through that if necessary. But going back through SafetyNet implementation, it's going to happen. There's no two ways about it. Whether or not it's like fully kills data mining and early showcases, I'm like 99% sure, but there could be a workaround. And if there is, well, then, you know, no big deal, right? So, but that's my 2 cents on that. So here we go.
One thing I will also finally add as well, we don't exactly know when it's coming. It could be the next maintenance, it could be the next big update, it could be worldwide celebration, or when version Z comes out. So that's something to look forward to. I personally think version Z is when this will, or the next big update, the next version update, not a maintenance or anything. So again, the next one most likely will be either Tanabata or the later half of Tanabata, or before worldwide celebration. So we still have some time, I feel, but it's around the corner. It's about a month or 2 months away, worst case scenario.
All right, guys, so this wraps up this video, which is reacting to your community responses. If you guys don't follow us on Twitter or our YouTube community page, go to the link tree down in the description below. Check us out. Maybe one day we'll get to react to one of your comments in the future. So with that said, Troko, Gail, thank you so much for joining us for this video. Thanks a lot, guys. We'll see you all next time. We're out.
Peace out, everybody.